When my wife told me she was pregnant, I should have felt joy, but instead I froze. The world around me blurred. Her lips were still moving. Her eyes were wide with nervous excitement, but all I could hear was the thundering of my heartbeat. Something in her voice didn't sound right. Something in her eyes broke me before she even said another word. I knew, even before she confessed. That night, lying next to her, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I could hear her breathing beside me, soft and steady, like someone who had already made peace with the lie she'd told. But I hadn't. My wife was pregnant, and the child wasn't mine. 16 years. That's how long we'd been married. We'd built a life together, a house, 3 kids, a future that I thought was solid. When we first met, she was everything I ever wanted. Funny, beautiful, the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. We were young, broke, and stupidly in love. I remember our wedding day like it was yesterday. Her smile, her trembling hands, the way she whispered, "We'll make it, no matter what." I believed her. I believed every word. But 1 year into our marriage, everything changed. She cheated. It was the kind of betrayal that cracks your soul open. I still remember the moment I found out. A message that popped up on her phone while she was in the shower. At first, I didn't even understand what I was reading. It was a mix of words that didn't belong in our marriage. "Last night was amazing. I miss you already." When she came out, wrapped in a towel, I was sitting on the bed holding her phone. She froze, and I saw it in her face. The guilt, the panic, the realization that her secret was out. She broke down instantly, fell to her knees, cried like a child. "It was a mistake," she said. "Please don't leave me." I wanted to hate her. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to disappear. But I couldn't, because somewhere inside me, love still whispered, maybe she's telling the truth. Maybe it won't happen again. So I forgave her. Years passed. We had our first child, a daughter with her mother's eyes. Then another and another. 3 beautiful souls who made every day worth living. But the truth is, our marriage was never the same. Every laugh felt forced. Every touch carried a shadow of doubt. And every time she was late from work, I felt that cold, familiar fear creeping back. She promised she'd changed, but she hadn't. She cheated again, and again, and again. For more times over 16 years. For more betrayals that I swallowed in silence. Because leaving felt impossible. I told myself it was for the kids. I told myself that maybe people can change. But deep down, I knew I was living in a house built on cracks. Then came the pregnancy. It was supposed to be a moment of joy, but it became the moment everything shattered completely. She told me one evening after dinner. The kids were in bed, and we were washing dishes together. She looked pale, her hands trembling slightly as she wiped her face with a towel. "I need to tell you something," she said. My stomach dropped. I knew that tone. I'd heard it before. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. For a second, I said nothing. I just stood there, frozen. Then she added, almost inaudibly, "It's not yours." The plate in my hand slipped and shattered on the floor. I didn't even flinch. I just stared at her. Her eyes were red, her lips trembling. She reached out to touch my arm, but I stepped back. "Who is he?" I asked. She didn't answer. Just silence. And that silence said everything. I left the kitchen, drove for hours with no destination, ended up parked by the river, staring at the reflection of the city lights in the water. I felt numb. Not angry, not sad, just empty. I thought about all the years, the family trips, the birthdays, the school plays, the nights we spent laughing at nothing. Had all of it been a lie? Was I the only one still trying to hold on to something that was already gone? By the time I came home, it was past midnight. She was sitting on the couch, eyes swollen from crying. She started talking, explanations, apologies, promises. But I didn't hear a word, because none of it mattered anymore. A week later, I got a message on Facebook from a man I didn't know. His name was Tom. "I'm sorry to message you like this." It read, "But I need to be part of my child's life." I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. He knew. My wife must have told him. I didn't reply. I just put my phone down and sat in silence for a long time. When she came home that night, I confronted her. "Did you tell him?" She hesitated, then nodded. "He deserves to know. He deserves." I snapped. "What about me? What do I deserve?" Her eyes filled with tears again, and she whispered the same words she'd said years ago. "Please don't leave me." But this time, those words had no power left. The following weeks were suffocating. I stopped sleeping in our room, started staying late at work just to avoid being home. Every night, I could hear her crying through the walls, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. Not anymore. One night, my 10-year-old daughter came into the guest room holding a picture. "Dad, look," she said, smiling. "Mom said this is my baby brother." It was an ultrasound. She was so proud, so excited, completely unaware of what that photo really meant. I smiled weakly and said, "That's nice, sweetheart." Then she ran off to her room, humming. The moment the door closed, I broke down. I sat on the floor, clutching that ultrasound, and cried harder than I ever had before. Life became a routine of pretense. School runs, work, dinner, silence, repeat. She tried to make things normal again, cooking my favorite meals, asking about my day, pretending everything was fine. But every glance between us was a reminder of the truth neither of us could escape. Then one morning, she told me she had an appointment, the baby's first ultrasound, and asked if I wanted to come. I said no. But later that day, she sent me a photo anyway. The tiny shape of life in black and white. I stared at it for a long time. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity. For her. For me. For that child who never asked to be born into this mess. When the baby arrived, I didn't go to the hospital. I stayed home with the kids. She sent me a picture from her hospital bed, her holding the newborn, smiling softly. And for a moment, I saw the woman I fell in love with all those years ago. But then the memory of her lies came rushing back, and that image turned bitter again. Months passed. I moved through life like a ghost, functioning but barely living. Our marriage had become a 40-60 split. 40% peace, 60% hell. Every word we spoke felt heavy, rehearsed, meaningless. Sometimes, I caught her staring at me when she thought I wasn't looking, like she wanted to to say something, but couldn't find the courage. And sometimes I almost wish she would, but she never did. One evening, my oldest son came into the room. He's 16 now, tall, quiet, observant. He sat beside me, not saying a word for a long time. Then he asked softly, "Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced?" My heart sank. "Why do you ask that?" I said, "Because you look sad all the time." I didn't know what to say. I wanted to tell him everything, the truth, the pain, the betrayal, but he was still just a kid. "We're trying to figure things out," I said finally. He nodded, eyes heavy with understanding far beyond his age. That night, I realized my kids were already feeling the weight of our broken marriage, even if we try to hide it. A few weeks later, I came home late from work. The baby was crying upstairs, and she was pacing the living room. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, shoulders slumped. When she saw me, she whispered, "I can't do this alone." For a moment, my heart softened, but then I remembered everything she'd done, every lie, every tear that meant nothing. "You're not alone," I said quietly, "but I can't be your husband anymore." Her lips trembled. "So this is it?" "Yeah," I said, "this is it." I moved out 2 weeks later. Just a small apartment, nothing fancy, just quiet. The kids visit on weekends. We cook together, play games, laugh. And for the first time in years, the laughter feels real. Some nights, when I'm alone, I think about her. I wonder if she regrets it. I wonder if she still thinks about me. But then I remind myself, regret doesn't undo betrayal. Sorry doesn't erase scars. I've learned that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it just means freeing yourself from the weight of someone else's mistakes. I'm not angry anymore, just tired. Tired but healing. I still see her at school events, birthdays, family gatherings. We're polite, civil, but the love, the trust, it's gone. And that's okay, because not all endings have to be explosive. Some just fade quietly, like the last flicker of a candle that once burned bright. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: never confuse endurance with strength. Staying in a broken relationship doesn't make you strong. Knowing when to walk away does. I stayed far too long, but I'm walking now, and with every step, the weight gets lighter. Maybe someday, I'll fall in love again. Maybe I won't. But either way, I've found peace. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is finally let go.